onefootflipper.
All right, so I'm sure most of you by now have heard of eBay's standard envelope for trading cards, or most of you don't even sell trading cards, you don't care about it, and I'm sure 2% of you sell trading cards but refuse to use standard envelope, instead charge $4 to ship each card and light $3.36 on fire with each order. But hey, that's your store. You do what you want. You're right. You're right. However, the thing is, behind the scenes in recent months, eBay silently unlocked that standard envelope in hundreds of categories. Now, I believe the idea was behind it was that these categories could contain currency, cards, patches, decals, stickers, seeds, or stamps. But they went pretty heavy with what they unlocked. They've got standard envelope unlocked in 1,105 categories. Guess because those categories might contain those items. It's actually pretty super comprehensive, and I'm pretty proud of eBay for managing this well. Although, once again, I don't see why they should be gating any shipping options by categories whatsoever. It does not help the sellers or the buyers in any way to gatekeep shipping by categories, because they gatekeep media mail randomly by category, having it wide open in tons of categories that would never contain any media mail, and having it closed off in many categories that contain tons of it. Doesn't make any sense to gatekeep shipping options by category. Pitney Bowes, who this runs through, they don't care what's in this envelope one bit. They do not care. The post office does not care what's in this envelope. All they really care about is that it's flexible. Sucker will fold in half. That's all they care about. They don't care what's inside. All right, it's been a slow day in the pure number of sales. We've only got 7, but it is over $500, so that's not bad. Very nerdy day. This is the least nerdy thing on the list, and I think it's pretty nerdy on its own. Pure Prairie League album, $2.62. A Pokemon puzzle, $8.29. I take these out of the shrink and put all the pieces into a bubble mailer, because that greatly reduces the shipping price, and it steers the customers who expect this to arrive in some sort of pristine mint condition that's gradable away from me. What I say in my listing is, this store promo will ship unassembled, never had any original packaging other than the shrink wrap. Shipping it assembled greatly increases the shipping cost. If you want one already put together, then other sellers have them for more money. Yeah, it sticks it well up over a pound, and I've got to get a very rigid package to try to ship these unassembled. But it's under 8 ounces if I just throw the pieces into a bubble mailer. So that's what I do. Another one from my big Warhammer buy from a couple videos ago. 10 Chaos Damon's Blood Letters of Horn, sold for $95. Make sure I got the right one. I do. Put a picture up on the screen. Well, you probably already saw the picture because it was already there. A bag of teeny tiny Warhammer skulls, $5.65. For $150. The Highland expansion to the Talisman board game. Apparently, this is either the best expansion or there's some shortage of this, because the person I got this from bought this on clearance, half price, at our local game store, and never opened it. I got it from him in a bulk buy, and apparently it's gone from having been only worth about 20 bucks clearance to $150. Sold in only a couple of days, and it's going to Europe. Strangely enough, after the person bought it and paid for it, they tried to negotiate a cheaper price for some reason. I have zero worries about that. That would have worried me with anybody else, but this is going via the eBay International, so I've got no worries there whatsoever, because they take care of any customer weirdness, and I don't have to deal with it. So if they decide to try to return it, they return it to eBay, not to me. This Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol, the contents of the box has been switched up. It still has the tank, and it has not one but 2 of the giant figures it's supposed to come with, but all the little troopers are gone. This sold in only a couple of days for $100. I'm now at $450 on that big purchase I did from a few videos ago. So basically the next purchase of any consequence puts it in the profit, and I haven't listed most of the stuff. So I'm doing okay there. Lastly, a single old Games Workshop hit scatter die, $3.47, and it costs more than that to ship it. And that's all the sales for right now. What this means, though, is you can ship a lot more than cards, stickers, money, and stamps with standard envelope now. And the ability to print the label is gate kept by the item category, not by what the item actually is. And in fact, they've never even enforced the supposed 15 card limit on trading cards. I have had orders of 20 and 21 trading cards come in, where it's most specifically 21 separate items, and it lets me print the envelope just fine. And even then, I think it's still only 2 ounces. But if you try to do much more than 21, you're going to run into flexibility issues. Okay, now, the thing about when you're packing a standard envelope is, I mean, there's some list of the dimensions it can be, but it needs to realistically be able to make its way through the machines that the post office has. And you want it to not attract the attention of postal employees who will make up their own rules if you attract any attention to your envelopes. So, and cannot be too rigid, cannot be more than a 1/4 inch thick. So, and as far as too rigid goes, I would not use those hard top loaders for baseball cards or whatever. I do not use those. I have an entire video going over how I pack cards like that. But basically, I pack sports cards and everything else 3 to 4 cards thick in one of these gaming envelopes. Like, we've got a lovely Beanie Baby card here that's actually being used as packing material. The Magic card the person ordered is inside here. And what you do with that is you're going to tape it inside your envelope off center. If you have any sort of lump in what you're shipping, you want to tape it off center. That way, when the post office employee goes to flex that envelope, oh, look at that, it flexes great, and they don't make up their own rules about it. Or if they go to fold your package over to make it into that tight P.O. box, oh, it folds right over. They didn't ruin your card. If you're doing a whole bunch of envelopes and they've all got, you know, a single lump in it, go switch from side to side each order so that stack of envelopes sits flat. Now, I always put the label on the back. That's just me, because I like the label being an extra thing holding that closed. And I use a zebra printer. I encourage everybody to use a zebra printer. They are much heavier duty than all the printers you see people being paid to advertise. And nothing wrong with having a sponsor. Just zebra printer is what you see on the counter at UPS. You don't see a Rollo printer on the counter at UPS. And a used zebra is far cheaper than a new Rollo. Put it on there, and that's ready to go. But yeah. And I use 2 basic size of envelopes. I use this for most everything, but I also do a lot of smaller folded posters now, and I use this 6-inch by 9-inch envelope for folded posters. And I always include a card. Always include a trading card in there with things like that, and put the word card in the title, just to be a little bit closer to the eBay system. Now, some of you, I can hear it, you're bubbling up with anger inside right now, because the spirit, both the letter and the spirit of the eBay rule system, user agreements, and special basement friends is your own personal religion. But hey, even if that's true, there is nothing stopping you from including a sticker or a trading card in each and every single order. In fact, if you need some trading cards, get a hold of me. I got Beanie Baby trading cards or cheerleaders, and you could spread those out to the world with your other orders that could otherwise fit in the envelope. Now, down below in the description, I'm going to put a link to the eBay spreadsheet showing every category that standard envelope is currently open in. Now, you're going to ignore the first column here on the left. It says category. That's not actually part of the category. It's the second column that shows the actual category path, that shows what categories it's truly open in. The first part is just their guess as to what the item might actually be. Now, you do got to remember, Standard envelope items need to be able to fit in an envelope, be somewhat flexible, less than a 1/4 inch thick. This is perfect for things like small manuals, photographs, small folded posters, really any sort of paperwork. Loose Nintendo Switch and DS games would work as well. I would pack those up much the way I pack a trading card, and I put it in one of these gaming sleeves, and I stick another card on either side of it, and that DS or Switch loose cartridge should go right through that postal system for 64 cents instead of you spending $4. Video game manuals will work great. In fact, I recently, just yesterday, sent a baggie of tiny plastic Warhammer parts this way. It was skulls. They were all tiny, and it was not even close to a 1/4 inch thick, and I'm sure it'll get there just fine. And chances are, you probably have a lot of items like this in your store already with package shipping. Imagine what cutting $3.50 off that shipping cost could do for your bottom line. Whether you're cutting that off the price to the user to make the item sell faster, or whether you don't care about how fast that item sells or whatever else, and you're just keeping that $3.50. Either way, that could do wonders for you. And there are so many standard envelope categories now that you should be able to find a match for nearly anything. And even if it's in the wrong category, it'll still sell. I've been selling board game cards as non-sports trading cards for 3 years. Customers still find them. The board game category is open now, so I actually changed all of those listings over to the correct category now, but customers were finding them before that. Here's a link. Here's just a list of some of the 1,100 plus categories that are open now that you could possibly put your items in. Other party supplies. That's actually pretty wide open there. Many of the collectibles - advertising categories, perfect for those people who think cutting a picture out of a magazine is a good thing to do. Maybe it will now that you can ship it for 64 cents. It really seems to be almost every collectible subcategory. I'm sure some of them are closed off for some reason. Comic books is open for some reason. The everything else category is also open, so you could put everything in that category. Die-cast cars, board games, other games. Some of the Warhammer categories, but not all of them. The action figure category, stuffed animals, models and kits, Lego. Really most of the toy categories. It's open in books. It's open in magazines. It's open in the security cameras category for some reason. Art prints, art posters, drawings. Many different sporting goods categories. Most of the video game categories as well, but not manuals, even though that's the only one that would really make much any sense. It's open in many of the automotive accessory categories. It's open in VHS, DVD, CD, vinyl, and a strange selection of clothing categories. I don't actually see the reasoning behind the clothing category. I guess it's because of patches, but I'm not sure how they were determining that. Because the hat category is open, and I don't know. I'm just going to stop now. It literally goes on forever. The important thing is to go ahead and download that spreadsheet of the categories, keep that on your computer, because you're listed from a computer, right? You're not trying to manage your 6-figure business from your cell phone, are you? I hope not. Would you, don't mean to insult anybody, but if you went to an accountant to do your taxes, they started doing your taxes on their phone, would you maybe think about looking for a different accountant? I'm just wondering. There's a reason why big workstations like this exist and why professionals use them to do professional work. And there's a reason why I take pictures of my dog and send messages to my daughter on this. All right, so you make sure the item's in one of those eligible categories listed on the spreadsheet, and that it meets the size, weight, and rigidity requirements. You probably want to read through eBay's thing on the standard envelope about that, but basically the important thing is that it needs to not be completely rigid. I like for it to be able to fold in half if possible. It's got to be 3 ounces or less. That's usually never an issue. I've sent very few standard envelopes that actually hit that 1/3 ounce. Usually you'll hit too rigid or too thick before you hit that 1/3 ounce. Now, there's a few things you could do with this information. You could go through your listings and optimize everything that could go in the standard envelope, however you want to optimize it. Or you could just go through and make sure that anything that you could ship in an envelope is in an eligible category. And keep your prices and shipping prices the same. And you can decide to take advantage of that extra money whenever it happens. Whenever you go to ship and that standard envelope's open, you can be like, oh, I'll pick that. doing that also protects you if the categories change later, which I don't think they're going to. I just think they're going to officially, over time, open more categories or say more items are officially in it than they are to wheel it back, because it just is more money for eBay, so there's no reason for them to not expand the service. All right, I think that's all I've got for today. If you know anybody who could be placed into an envelope and sent for 64 cents, why don't you tell them about this channel? I could use the subs. Thanks. Hope to see you again soon.